We go. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the VerseCast with Dan and Brent. We are here today to talk about some of the massive news in the sports world. We've got trades, we've got re-signings, we've got foreign arrests, we've got World War III, we've got everything. So, Brent, how are you doing in Puerto Rico joining us today?
Yeah, I mean, if you see my background, definitely cannot complain with where I'm recording this podcast from today. How are things hanging in the great city of New York?
Well, it just started snowing, so that's how it's
Tale
going.
of two cities.
Yeah. So, well, what do we have first on the menu for today? Because I know that there's a lot of different things going on commanding the attention of Stephen A. and everyone else.
Yeah, so I want to give the funny story about your phone notification. We're talking about the one of the biggest NFL trades in recent history, which Dan got a notification saying Drew Lock has been traded to the Seattle Seahawks. He didn't think much of it.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? I literally was just working. I get a notification. Drew Lock traded to Seahawks. Okay, cool. I mean, I guess they need a backup. I didn't click it to realize that it meant Russell Wilson and every pick in Denver's draft is going to Seattle. So, what an amazing move by the Broncos to cash in some of their assets to get an All-Pro quarterback. You know, Russell wants to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not close to it yet, in my opinion, even though I think Matt Stafford is. So Russ is not there yet. Obviously, coming to the Broncos, he beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl. If he does manage to get another ring, that would be the first time ever that a player would have beat a team and won for a team in the Super Bowl. So I'm excited to see this get started. That division is stacked. Brent, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, you got Mahomes, Herbert, Carr, Wilson now. That, I mean, along with an already loaded AFC with quarterbacks, even outside the AFC West, that division in itself is going to be an absolute bloodbath. It's going to be so fun to watch. I mean, you also got Josh Allen. You've got, wow, I'm really blanking right now.
Lamar Jackson. I mean,
Lamar
there's no shortage of talent in the
Joe
AFC.
Burrow. You could throw in Mac Jones, maybe. I know I'm a little
No,
biased.
you can't do that. You can't do that. Mac
All
Jones
right.
cannot.
So fine, you got 7, right? So that's like half the conference has a really good quarterback, not just above average, like a really solid quarterback. I love this for both sides. I mean, you're pairing Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton with Russell Wilson. I think Jerry Judy's going to have like a monster year. All of his advanced stats, if you listen to any fantasy guru, even before this Wilson trade, they were talking about Jerry Jeudy having a breakout season. And now that he has Russ throwing him the ball, I think I saw a comparison between Jerry Jeudy and DK Metcalf. They had like very similar stats, besides the fact Metcalf commanded a bit more touchdowns than Jerry Jeudy. I think it was like 12-5 last season in the touchdown area. But I'm really excited to watch this Broncos team. Von Miller must have known this was happening because a few days before this signing, he was teasing on his Instagram like, "Oh, like Denver will always have my heart. Like, are we gonna run it back, et cetera, et cetera." And now with the Russell Wilson trade, he's posting on his Instagram again pictures of him and Russ being like, "All right, what's the move?" Then you take a flip side look at Seattle. Seattle needed to rebuild. It was their only option. They had a horrible season last year. They're not winning anything anytime soon. I know they also just released Bobby Wagner. I think they should look into moving Tyler Lockett along with a few other veteran-like players that have established themselves as solid players in the league, because they should just build up a draft chest like they're the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA and just
No way, bro. They are not that bad. They are not the
they,
Oklahoma City
without
Thunder.
Russ, they have Geno Smith and Drew Lock on their roster right
Yeah,
now.
they're gonna make a signing. They're gonna sign Trubisky or someone. They're not gonna be a 1-win team next year, even without Wagner. I don't see that happening. I mean, the Seahawks are a proud franchise. I don't think that they're gonna just enter the cellars. I mean, the Thunder are gonna have so many prospects. There's not gonna be enough minutes to go around. I don't think teams around the league are even envious of the Thunder necessarily. But look, I gotta say, if the Russell Wilson trade follows the rhythms and rhymes of history over the last 2 seasons, the Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl. each team that has made a huge trade at the end of the previous season or in the off season, whether it was the Buccaneers acquiring Tom Brady and then winning in his first year, or the Los Angeles Rams acquiring Matt Stafford and winning in their first year, this that was all the evidence GMs around the league needed to say, let's pull the trigger on these trades and let's go get the veteran. The Broncos were just a quarterback away. I think the Broncos should be considered, top 5 title favorites at this point, if you take into account the fact that history is on their side. I mean, you can't argue against 2 years in a row veteran quarterbacks getting brought in and winning Super Bowls. It's a habit. It reminds me of Kawhi Leonard. You trade for Kawhi Leonard, you win a championship with the Toronto Raptors, which no one thought was possible, and then he leaves. Yeah, that sucks. But at least you won a championship. You never would have done that. We're seeing that more and more. Anthony Davis, they shell the farm out. Lakers win a championship. The only counterexample of that is the Milwaukee Bucks. They did it all homegrown, but every champion in the major sports of the last years have been, making trades and paying off.
I wouldn't necessarily Milwaukee, a little off track, but they did acquire Drew Holiday, which was a big piece.
It's true.
I think that's what puts them to the edge. But yeah, I get what you're saying. The Tom Brady is like an extreme outlier because he's like one of the greatest athletes of all time in the whole entire world. So everyone wanted to go play with him. But I think it's fair to say that the Russell Wilson poll will be more so similar to the Matt Stafford poll, which is, hey, this is a veteran quarterback that has what it takes to win. I want to go play with this guy. He's a great leader. He's a great guy on and off the field. So I get what you're saying. I definitely think within the next 2 years, I think this season they should be top 10 favorites to win the Super Bowl, which I don't think they are right now, but I totally get what you're saying.
Well, here's a question, and it's a little off topic from Wilson, but it's about this veteran quarterback trade that I'm talking about. Do you think Matt Stafford winning a Super Bowl in his first year with a new team makes it less impressive that Tom did the same thing? Because before that, we had never seen that, right? We had never seen a Pro Bowl quarterback come and, even Peyton Manning in his first year in Denver, they didn't win the Super Bowl. So this was unheard of. Now that Stafford's done it, does that make it a little less unique? And if Wilson goes on and does it, does that mean that, suddenly it's just part of the NFL is, look, making big trades pays off?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love Tom Brady, right? I mean, I'm a huge Boston sports guy. How could you not love Tom Brady? Everything he's done for New England, Boston, right?
Yeah, of course.
That being said, blah, 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 greatest of all time. No, but that being said, the Rams got Odell, but also lost Woods, so that kind of canceled out, and they got Von Miller. Other than that, didn't have that many free agents come. Don't get me wrong. They had Donald, Ramsey. They have a great team. But I think Tom Brady winning a ring in his first year with the Bucs is so overhyped because they signed like the top 20 free agents that offseason. Because like I said, it's the Tom Brady effect. Everybody just wanted to come play with him. So to answer your question, to me, it doesn't. Stafford winning a ring in his first year with the Rams doesn't make Brady winning a ring in his first year with the Bucs less impressive because I already wasn't blown away by it. And I think Stafford winning a ring in his first year with the Rams is way more impressive than Brady doing it in his first year with the Bucs.
Well, I would agree. I think Stafford doing it is more impressive, both because he's never won a playoff game before, and the Rams hadn't won a Super Bowl. Even the Bucs had won a Super Bowl,
right.
20 years ago. I guess the Rams did too. But all right, well, what do we have next?
Yeah, next, we're going to be talking, not to get political, but Brittany Griner has been detained in Russia for close to a month now. I believe she was caught by airport security carrying some form of cannabis, if I'm not mistaken. Dan, is that true?
Yeah. It was a hashish pen, which is just basically a G pen. So I mean, look, Brittany Griner plays in Russia in the WNBA offseason. I cannot tell you when the WNBA season and offseason is. So I don't is this the offseason for the WNBA?
Yes,
Brent? Okay, so she plays there apparently for a team that is owned by one of the major Russian oligarchs. Obviously, there are many of them, but a very rich businessman in Russia owns her team. So what I read when I looked into this was that she has this cozy relationship with the owner of the team, makes a lot of money. He pays her a lot to come and attract fans during the Russian season. And so she may have been operating under the fact that she was a little untouchable, right? She may have had special privileges. You can't forget Russia's a fucking authoritarian dictatorship. So like you can't just be walking around thinking, I'm an American, my boss is rich and that's going to protect me. So look, this is an avoidable situation for Brittany Griner. Unfortunately, it could become a bigger diplomatic situation. Personally, if Brittany Griner is what sparks World War III, I'm renouncing my American citizenship. I do not give a fuck about Brittany Griner. When it comes to the consequences that may involve going and getting her. So this is a hilarious scenario if we really zoom out, but it's also sort of serious. And personally, it's just a biggest idiot of the month goes to Brittany Griner, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's like what's referred to as a G pen, right? It's just so stupid. Like I don't really understand. But at the same time, like you said, this could become a huge diplomatic issue, especially given everything going on in the world. If Russia wants to make an example out of her, like you have like a few years ago, what was it? Where was one of the Ball brothers when he was arrested? China.
Yeah, he was in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and like they were like basically just trying to make an example out of him. So I don't know. It's been like a month though, so this is some pretty serious shit. Definitely something to keep an eye on, even if you're not a huge WNBA or sports fan, just because it could turn into something much bigger. Not much else to touch upon here. I think our last segment before we wrap up, NBA season is coming to an end relatively quickly. It's been a really fun season, and there's been a lot of stars shining bright, which brings us to some NBA award predictions. I think we'll run through MVP, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. I know there's also Most Improved, but that one's a little bit tougher. We can jump into that one too if you want. But
Yeah, I mean, I think this year's MVP race is way less contested than last year's. I mean, last year it was just injuries would replace, someone would be in the lead and then they'd get hurt, and then
right.
someone else would be in the lead and then they'd get hurt, and then Jokic sort of finished strong there at the end. This year, I see it being Joel Embiid, even with Harden coming in, putting up big numbers. His numbers have remained insane, and they are looking like the most complete team in the Eastern Conference. I'd love to see Philly matched up with Brooklyn in a round one conference, matchup, and they just smack them 4-0, because that's what I think would. I don't think the Nets are worth a damn. So the Sixers, I think Joel Embiid is the leading MVP. I love that DeRozan, is in the conversation. He's not going to win it. Curry's long gone from the conversation. So look, the truth is Jokic is right up there in terms of advanced stats, but I think you're going to have to defer to team success here, and Joel Embiid absolutely is deserving of this award. And as long as he stays healthy and finishes the last 30 games or so strong, I mean, we're gonna have a long-standing tradition then of international big men winning the MVP trophy, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Even with the arrival of James Harden, which came like 70% of the way through the season, Embiid kept the 76ers as a top 3 seed before Harden was there for a majority of the beginning of the season. And like you said, even with Harden, I think that might just help his case more because he's going to be able to play as an even more complete player. I remember after his first game playing with Harden, he said, "I don't think I've ever been that wide open in my whole entire basketball career," just because Ben Simmons isn't spacing the floor for you at all, right? So like it's really like pick and pop, pick and roll, going to work in the post. Other two guys you have to touch upon are Jokic and Giannis. I mean, not a knock against them whatsoever. I just think Embiid, is a clear front runner. And like you said, I think a Brooklyn Philly matchup at some point in the playoffs, which would probably come in the first round if I had to guess. Maybe the second would be a lot of fun to watch, especially just seeing Ben Simmons have to play in Philly.
So. Yeah, I bet he wouldn't even play. I bet he'd find some way to chicken out. Like I'm
He'd
so
probably bet
amazed.
on the game, so he'd be suspended. And
Yeah, I'm amazed that he hasn't played for the Nets yet. I thought this PR tour of showing that he's not just faking it the whole time, so he'd not play for the first week or something. I thought that was the case. I still don't buy that he has, mental health issue. I feel like he's probably put on a couple pounds of body fat, and that the Nets are trying to run him into shape so that he can actually contribute to a playoff run. But look, I'm a Hornets fan. We just got our ass kicked by the Nets last night. Kyrie had 50 off of less than 20 points, or excuse me, 50 points off of less than 20 shots. Pretty unheard of in my book. So the Nets are good. The Nets are good enough to give anyone trouble. But Ben Simmons, we haven't gotten to look and see how he'll work. He may make that team worse.
yeah, there's a very good chance that happens. You just truly do not know.
He may think he needs the ball in his hands, and that's not going to be cool with Kyrie and Durant. I mean, there's a lot that I said when they traded for Harden that the Brooklyn Big Three would not work. That just didn't work. It was like the Lakers with Dwight and Steve Nash, right? Like it just wasn't. It was too good to be true.
All right, next we got Defensive Player of the Year. The front runner for this, among many media pundits, does not make sense to me whatsoever because I don't think he's played in about half the games this season, and that would be Draymond Green. I understand where they're coming from because the Warriors do have a top 3 defense in the league, and Green is kind of the anchor of that defense, but I'm a little biased here. You take a look at Boston, who has a clear-cut number 1 defense the whole season now, especially especially after the All-Star break. You got 2 guys. You got Marcus Smart, who you can't even look at the box score to understand his impact, but even if you do, he's averaging about 0.6 blocks a game, I believe, and he's 3rd in the league in steals per game. And then you have Robert Williams, who, again, a guy who impacts the games in ways that aren't going to show up on the stat sheet, but he leads the team in box plus minus and defense box plus minus.
Just a bunch of Celtics.
And he's also number 1 in the league in blocks per game.
Well, I will say Marcus Smart is nowhere to be found on any Vegas sports book for Defensive Player of the Year.
No, he's
I've got the odds in front of me here. We're looking at Rudy Gobert at the minus 145 favorite. That would be his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. Giannis at 2nd at plus 440. Draymond plus 1,200. Jaren Jackson plus 1,200. Then we do have your Boston boy Robert Williams.
What, 1,500?
Plus 1,300. Yeah, and then Bam and Joel Embiid rounded out. So looking like Gobert and Giannis are the 2 real considerations here. Look, Gobert is consistently underrated. I don't know why all the guys in the league don't like him. I mean, I get his COVID thing was annoying, but
2 years ago today, actually.
Well, this guy, 4 Defensive Player of the Years, multiple All-Stars. I think Rudy Gobert is going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's, there's going to be an argument against that, once he plays 5 or 6, 7 more years. So,
he might end up being the most underrated, underhyped Hall of Famer of all time.
Literally. And like if he continues to do this, you're going to have to give him all-star slots, especially as a true center. So he may finish with 5, 6, 7 all-star games. It's just about if Utah
Player of the Years.
Yeah. So 4 would be the record, I'm pretty sure. It would tie the record.
And there's a chance Utah doesn't have a bad team. There's a chance he also, if Mitchell stays and they're able to develop some more like rotation players around them, there's a chance he also retires with a ring. It's like looking more and more unlikely, but there's still a chance that happens.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big believer. Utah's got an amazing roster built around them. They've got a great coach. I mean, like they could absolutely. They need to have a breakthrough like the Suns did and win a series that they're not supposed to, and then people are like, "Holy shit, these guys can really do it." So all right, so moving on from DPOY. We're looking at, Rookie of the Year, which is, again, there's not been a whole lot of rookies that have had you saying, holy shit, right? We've had some impressive moments from Jalen Green, some impressive moments from Cade Cunningham. Who are the front runners for that award?
I'm going to have to go with Evan Mobley. Again, like it hasn't been like, holy shit, like this guy is the next face of the NBA. but he's been the most consistent. He's helping his team win. I don't have his stats per game pulled up in front of me, but I know they're rather good. And that Cleveland team, at least at the start and midway through the season, they were looking really good, and he was a big part of that. So I'd have to go with Evan Mobley as my pick for Rookie of the Year right now. Again, not a knock against, well, kind of a knock against Jalen Green. I don't think he's that great, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying that. But Cade Cunningham, yeah, Cunningham, yeah, whoa, words hard, not easy. English is a hard language. Cade's going to be a special talent.
So the odds here have Mobley at minus 500,
Yeah.
a far favorite. We've got Cade and Barnes both at plus 750. Barnes has had a nice year. He started really hot. He's cooled off a bit. And then Josh Giddey at plus 1100. I mean, Josh Giddey, he's just got San Antonio Spurs written all over him. Like, he was definitely drafted to the wrong team, but he's going to be a really fun player for his career. He's so young. He's probably going to be a Westbrook style stat stuffer, but with a completely different play style than Russ, obviously. Instead of dunking, this guy's going to be doing floaters and probably 3-point floaters. Like, this guy is he's very crafty. So
I mean, very different from Jokic, but crafty like Jokic, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So Rookie of the Year, clearly, Evan Mobley deserves it. He's got this Cavaliers team looking like a legitimate playoff threat, which, sounded like a joke. I think I was telling my friends the Cavaliers should be relegated like 2 years ago to the G League. So this is a big change for them. But so lastly, to sum it all up, Coach of the Year. Look, Coach of the Year is oftentimes a flawed award because I don't think they can give it to the same coach 2 years in a row. So, this is something that oftentimes sort of feels like it's been gifted or given to people. I think Minnesota's coach, Chris Finch, deserves, some credit. Obviously, they're not a top 5 team in their conference, but they might actually avoid the play-in game, and that's pretty impressive for this sort of roster. The other teams that you have to look at is the Cavaliers coach, JB Bickerstaff, and then maybe Phoenix, Monty Williams. I think he won it last year. He's got to be in the running if he didn't, though. So again, Coach of the Year, not a sexy award. A couple good candidates that stand out, though.
Yeah, I like Taylor Jenkins in Memphis.
It's true.
They're the 2 seed in the West. I think most people probably have them slated as a 5-6 seed if I had to guess. I know I did anyways. You have Jaw. Jaw's a huge help, obviously, right? But around him, I don't want to say it's a bad supporting cast, but it could be a lot better.
It's young. It's developing. You got Desmond Bane and Jackson still on their rookie contracts. I think Jackson may have just re-signed. So that team's only going to get better. They're going to be buyers too. I don't be surprised if the Grizzlies make a huge trade. Dylan Brooks and 2 first-rounders for a star. So
yeah. So I think that about does it, right? A little bit of a shorter episode today, but outside the NBA, not much going on. Hopefully, I'm a big MLB guy. I don't know how many of our listeners are, so I'm hoping we have some good MLB news to spread with our VerseCast troopies in the near future. Groupies, excuse me. I cannot talk today.
Yeah, you gotta use words that you can you can use.
Yeah.
Cunningham. You did a Moses Moody moment there.
Yeah. I'm just gonna shut up and stop talking. Dan, I'll let you wrap it up.
Moody. Thanks everyone for joining us. We will catch you next time. Don't forget to check out the Pylon Dons and our other affiliates. Check out and follow us on Colorcast as well. Peace.